Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
John Sambalino, an author who is he's quite a guy. We've had him on before. He wrote a book called Is God in That Bottle Cap? And that is, of course, you have no idea what that would even mean, right? A search for truth. Good morning, John.
Hi, Anita. Good morning.
Thank you for being on with us. You know, I hope that your book is selling, because it is, once someone gets in it, they will learn more from your book on religions and all than I think any other kind of a book.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
So what have you been doing? I know that you're a very busy guy, so this is not the only thing that you do. Of course, you're a retired attorney. And are you calling in from New Jersey?
I am. You know, you asked what I've been doing, but I could give you a million guesses. You never guess what I did yesterday.
Oh my gosh! Is it legal? Can I ask?
It's legal. My father, who died a couple of years ago, was a B-17 pilot in World War II.
Like my husband.
He was a B-17 pilot.
Flew 35 missions.
Yeah, my dad flew 39 missions. Well, anyhow, yesterday I went for a flight in the B-17.
Oh, right. Oh, an actual flight. I've been on one, but never flew it. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I didn't fly. I mean, I actually, before it took off, I told him that my dad was a pilot, and I showed him a bunch of pictures that I had. So I got to sit in the pilot seat, took pictures right from where he would have sat, and then we went for a flight and came back. It was fantastic.
Can you believe that they did in that tiny little narrow flight plane what they were able to accomplish?
It's crazy. It's just crazy. It's just, it's just thin metal and 10 guys jammed in there with machine guns all over the place. But it was quite a trip. It was great.
And my husband wrote a book, actually, about that. So it's very interesting that your father... So when did he pass away?
He actually passed away 5 years ago. He was 91. He had Parkinson's disease, but he just kind of wore out, But he had a great long life, so it was fine.
Oh, well, that's great. Yeah, so you got to get in there. I actually have a picture of the B-17 when they come down, with a lot of the airplanes on display, and they did bring a B-17, and my family all got to go in, and he actually got to go back in it also. I could not believe that they accomplished that. So that's what you did yesterday. Okay, so but what are you doing nowadays to keep yourself going?
Well, I have these startup companies that I'm involved with, but they don't really take any of my time. So I teach a qigong class on Monday nights, beginning and advanced qigong classes. I teach a meditation class to correctional officers for the state of Delaware. I had one of those come up in a couple of weeks, and just visiting my grandbaby and hanging out, reading. And just, regular stuff. Nothing work related. Every morning I get up and I meditate for a couple hours. I do Tai Chi, Qigong, Hatha Yoga. And I read and just go through the internet and just do whatever.
Well, I think people should really consider buying your book. And the reason I say that is I learned more about religions in your book, because you spent, how many years did you spend traveling all over learning about the various philosophies of the religions?
Well, I learned not traveling around, just reading different things, listening to different people. But I've been doing this, I started actually doing all this stuff 51 years ago is when I started reading about all this stuff. So it's been 51 years. And then over the years I've traveled, like I said before, to India 3 times, and Bhutan, and Nepal, and Egypt, and, all over the place. So it's just listening to people, reading things, contemplating. But the most important thing is to have the meditation practice, because that gives you the actual experience. So if somebody's talking about something and you're listening to them and you're thinking, that's great. But if you actually experience what you're studying, then it's just a whole different thing. It's like the B-17. I mean, you can kind of think about the B-17 and how it would have been back in the day. But then when you actually go in and fly one, it's a totally different feeling. Now you know.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. But I was very impressed with what you did. You did travel to some places. You went to the Himalayas. I mean, I read about everything you did there.
Yeah.
You were quite an interesting person, and the fact it's funny. I may be wrong, but usually I don't picture businessmen, as you are, involved in things like this. Has it helped you in business?
I think so. It just makes you not so crazy. You know, you don't get so upset with the ups and downs of what's going on. You're more even keel. But what happens, you know, in business and anything in general is this: the tendency of our mind is to travel back and forth from the past, from the future, but we're never really in the present moment. Like, for example, for like you, for example, for this very second, would it be possible for you to be like not happy right now or upset? Sure. Why would that be? Well, right now, you know, you're not hungry, you're not hot, you're not cold, nobody's pointing a gun at your head. How could you be miserable? Because you're either thinking about something that happened in the past, or you're thinking about something that might happen in the future. That's with everybody, where our mind goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that actually happens at our work desk. No matter what you're doing for work, our minds are all over the place. But when you meditate, you become much more focused. So your mind is much more clear, have more clarity, but you're focused on the task at hand. So you're not thinking about the past and the future. You're only focused on what you're doing. And as a result of that, you're a lot more productive, you're more creative. It's the whole deal. And that's why all these famous people, you know, the Clint Eastwoods, Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, Howard Stern, Bill Gates, you know, Jerry Seinfeld, they all meditate. And they meditate because they're able to do more work, they're more focused, and they're more creative. So it's just really, really important for everyone in business. And lots of business people, trust me, lots of them meditate.
Yeah, that's really good. I loved what you just said, and I'm sure that is true. And I was telling our last guest, not the last one, but the chiropractor who was on this morning, that I have a meditation tape, and I usually use that before I go to bed. I mean, and I don't last very long because it puts me right out. And I know that that's important. But you see, meditation started in the 60s? Not start, but that's when it became popular with the hippies and all that. They talked about going, they were all on the drugs and everything.
Yeah, well, this guy, Paramahansa Yogananda, who was an enlightened Indian master, he came to the United States in the 1920s. So he's the first person really to bring meditation to the United States. And then Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was the founder of Transcendental Meditation, he brought it over in the early 60s. But it wasn't until the Beatles became involved, and then then everybody knew about it. You know, the Beatles were involved, it was all over the news, and then Clint Eastwood, learned back in the day, and that's when it became kind of famous. But, both of us, when we were growing up, there were no yoga studios. I mean, if somebody did yoga, they were like,
You're right.
Yeah, but now there's a yoga studio in every single town.
Exactly. It is amazing. And men are doing it, and it's like, that's right. It used to... You just brought so many things to my mind. I remember I've been doing this for 30 years, so I remember there were some people, they were in Hawaii, and they were in, very far off places, and they talked about yoga, and it was this far off thing that, okay, so if you do this, you're a little weird, but you can relax. So what do you think? You're saying you think it was because of the popularity of some of the people who people respected, and they were doing it. What did happen that it became so every day?
It really was the Beatles. I mean, the Beatles were the biggest thing on the planet at the time, and when they started doing TM, and everybody started becoming involved with that, and then Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, he started coming on these different shows like the Merv Griffin Show and this and that, and then people started to learn meditation. They started having good experiences. And then back in the 60s, so the college campuses had meditation centers and other people. So they all started doing this stuff, and gradually it just caught on. I got a friend of mine. He's kind of like a macho guy, and he would lift weights and this and that. And I said, you ought to try yoga. And so he took a couple of yoga classes. He said, I like this better than lifting weights. He said, some of the postures are strenuous, like if they're a little bit more like a Pilates kind of a thing, where you actually do get exercise. But it's just enjoyable, and it's not one or the other. You don't have to say like, you can't, if you lift weights, you can't do yoga. Or if you do yoga, you can't lift weights. No, you can do it all. You just make it part of your practice or part of your daily routine.
Yeah, I can picture you're in the middle of a big business deal, and you say, okay, I have to take a 15-minute rest because I'm going to do some yoga. I'll be right back. Or meditation.
That reminds me, my brother-in-law is a big-time real estate, guy. He's done billions of dollars worth of deals, and he's dealing with some guy in California that's got made a younger guy. He's got lots and lots of money, And he was buying some business, building for, I don't know, $20 million, but it was for a charity. And right in the middle of a conference, they're all on a conference call, and he goes, okay, now we all have to like take 3 minutes to silently like meditate, whatever, in the middle of the call. And my brother says, "Are you serious?" And the guy says, "Yeah, and they all did it, and it's just and it just kind of calms you down, But that's his thing. He makes it an integral part of his thing. We're even on a business call with a bunch of people. He says, "Now we're going to all sit here quietly for a moment and just reflect or whatever."
That is good. It's funny. I was also mentioning on the show this morning that I'm driving and I get at a light, and of course, and I'm paying attention, and the light turns before I can even put my foot on the pedal to go. Someone goes, honk! It's like, oh my God, relax, buddy. And of course, I don't get into any rage and all, but I think, what is wrong with that person?
They're stressed out. But
right.
The people are stressed out, and they're stressed out because first of all, two things are happening. One is things that shouldn't be stressing them out are stressing them out. They're worried about the little tiny stuff, and then they have no way to get rid of stress. So what I say this about people is that they're so stressed out with these minor things. I say give it the 5-year rule. So if something stresses you out and you're all freaking out about really nothing, just ask yourself, how is this going to affect me in 5 years from right now?
Oh, that's good. I never heard this before.
Yeah, so if somebody cuts you off in traffic and gives you the finger and says you're an idiot, yeah, that could be stress you out. But it just stress you out for 1 second, because how is that going to affect you in 5 years? In 5 years, not only will it not bother you, you will not even remember that day.
That's a very, I'm write that down. The 5-year rule, right?
Yeah.
5-year rule.
Yeah, and then what I do for the people that are really a little bit crazy about not meditating or they're just these crazy ideas. Then I go, where do you see yourself in 500 years? I say, seriously, where do you see yourself in 500 years? Because this is the deal. 500 years is going to come and go. Where do you see yourself? Is it going to be just 6 feet under, and that's the end of you? Well, maybe not. But 500 years is going to come and go, and just have to get you. It's like going to the beach at night on a clear night and seeing the billions of stars out there, and you just have this sense of there's a lot more going on than my little itty bitty problems that I'm dealing with.
I think that I'm going to go to the beach and I see the sand and I see the ocean. They've been doing this. It's been doing this for billions of years, right?
Yeah. So it just gives you more a sense of kind of chill out. What's 3 hours? There's a lot going on.
Right. Well, I love this. I love talking to you. So tell me, are you writing another book?
Well, I've been making some notes because a lot of things just pop into my head. So I'm making some notes and I'm writing stuff down. It'll probably be a few years, but I'll eventually put it all together and put some more stuff.
Yeah,
down.
You should. You're a very good writer, and you're very you really opened up so much. Is God in That Bottle Cap? A Search for Truth by John Sambalino, Sambalino. You can buy it on Amazon, and it's a funny name. And why don't you, for the people who didn't hear this last time you were on, tell them where you got that name from?
Okay, so I'll back up and say when I was a little kid, I was taught that God is everywhere. God is everywhere, So if God is everywhere, He has to be in every little tiny thing, even a block of wood. And actually, in the Nag Hammadi Gospels, which were, back what happened back. Probably right after Christ, had died, Egypt was a big seat of learning for all kind of spiritual stuff, and they had the Coptic Christian church, probably the oldest Christian church in the world. And the Roman Catholic Church didn't like the way they were doing stuff. These were like the Gnostic Christians, so they wanted all these all their scriptures destroyed. So what it did over there in Egypt is they put them in a big earthen jar and they buried them. And in 1945, somebody found this by accident, and there were all these Gospels in there. And one of the Gospels talks about, God says, if you split open a block of wood, I'll be there. If you turn over a stone, I'll be there. Well, if you turn over a stone, there's no God sitting there. But what they're saying is God is this energy that's everywhere. So is God in the bottle cap? I used to swim at South Carolina with a Christian minister, and he's always going in, you got to go to church. Religion is so important. I said, well, I meditate a couple hours a day. That's my religion. I don't need to go to church. But he always said, oh, no, you have to go to church, So one day we're walking out to our cars after we went swimming, And he's going in again. Oh, you got to go to church. And I go, And I look down, right before I get in my car, I look down, there's a bottle cap lying on the ground. And I go, hey, Dan, see that bottle cap? I go, is God in that bottle cap? And he looked at me waiting for a punchline. I said, no, seriously. I said, if God is everywhere, is he in that bottle cap, or is he everywhere except in that bottle cap? And then again I said, how about the bullet that shot Kennedy? Was God in the bullet that shot Kennedy? Or is he everywhere except in the bullet that shot Kennedy except in that bottle cap? And I said, if God is everywhere, he has to be the ultimate building block of the physical universe. And that's how I started the conversation about the reality of nature and this and this and that and this and that and this and that. So that's, I can get more involved if you want me to, what I said to the guy.
No, I do it. This is so interesting. Go ahead.
Well, what I said is this. Imagine the smallest thing in the world. Okay, so you can imagine. 1,000 years ago, I thought the smallest thing in the world was like a molecule. It's a molecule of gold, molecule of dirt, molecule of silver. Then I said, no, the smallest thing in the world is an atom. There's nothing smaller than an atom. Then I said, oh, no, the smallest thing in the world are these atomic particles, the electrons, neutrons, protons. That's the smallest thing in the world. And then I said, no, the smallest thing in the world are these quarks, these small. So it gets smaller. As science evolves, things get smaller and smaller. So now, imagine the smallest thing in the world. I mean, you can imagine the smallest thing in the world, okay? Got it? Now cut it in half. No matter how small something is, you can always imagine cutting it in half. So the smallest thing in the entire universe has to be like nothing. It can't have any mass. If it does, you could think about cutting it in half. So it's just this nothingness. But it is something. It's like a pure consciousness, whatever. It is something. So everything is made up of that stuff, okay? So are you, Anita, this person, are you the stuff that you're made up of?
Right.
Well, you're both. You're both. It's like a wooden chair. At one level it's a chair, at another level it's wood. So if everything is made up of this like pure consciousness stuff, now imagine that you're this pure consciousness stuff, which you really are, and you can function at that level of pure consciousness. You can do, because that you are this pure consciousness, so you can function all this the same thing. So you can hold your hand out and you can go apple, and there'd be an apple in your hand. Not a fake apple, but a real apple, because an apple is made up of this pure consciousness, whatever. And for pure consciousness, you could use the word God, if that's what you want to use, because that's what people are talking about. You could go apple, and there's a real apple, because you can function at that level. Or you could go water into wine, dead man rise, blind man see. But if you did that, people would go, oh, my God, you must be God. And you would go, well, no, I'm not God. Well, yes, kind of. We're one and the same, different. He's the Father, I'm the Son, boom, boom. And that's when I stopped. And when I looked at this guy, he was like in a trance.
Right.
And because now he's thinking about, and that's when he quit the ministry after that.
Oh, that's right. You told me that. I mean, well, because you really saw it the way it is. And see, I have seen a lot that you've been saying, but I haven't been as articulate about it as you, because you actually went and talked to a lot of the masters. You really searched this out. What do you think because your family doesn't sound like that's something that they did. So where do you think that came from for you?
I think I was born with that. I think, you believe in reincarnation or not, whatever, but, how can, like, these little tiny kids that are 3-year-olds be, like, fantastic piano players, or people talking different, do they know all this stuff, So I think I was just, at some level, I was doing this stuff before, and then when I was a little kid, all of a sudden, this is what I thought. I mean, this was when I was little. Again, I mean, I was 5 years old in my bed crying at night. One night, and my mother came in, and she said, "What's going on?" She says, "I just don't want to die. I'm afraid I'm going to die." She says, "You're not going to die. Look at it. No, I'm going to die," because I realized that people die. This is the situation. I'm a person. This body. I'm just going to grow old and die. Is that it? And then I would think, well, what if I could live as long as if there was no oceans every ocean in the world was empty. There was no water, and once every billion years, a drop of water dropped into the ocean. One drop every billion years, and I could live until the ocean got filled up. That'd be a long, 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 long time. Still, it's going to come. It's going to come, and all of a sudden I said, "What's that about?" So no, there's something that was never born and will never die, and that's this consciousness, this God consciousness, whatever, and that's what everything really is. So when people think, "Oh, I'm going to die and then I'm going to come back," well, you don't really. I mean, the body dies, and that's what we think we are. But this is more than an intellectual, concept. This is actually, you feel this, you know this. When you walk down the street and you're walking through yourself, and that sounds, well, that's kind of crazy. Well, you feel that you're this consciousness. It does not stop with your body. It extends everywhere, and so it's not separate. So you look at a bottle cap or a tree or a dog, whatever, and yeah, it's different. At one level, it's different, but at another level, it's exactly the same. It is you, because that's what you're experiencing, and that's what Christ, Krishna, and Buddha experienced. And that's the whole thing. And it's not different from science. I mean, it's not like hocus pocus. That's kind of what that's the reality. Everything in the universe is what it was before the universe was created. There was nothing before the universe was created, except there was something, and that expanded out, and that is the universe, and that's what everything is, including ourselves. And Jesus realized that, but trying to put it into words, that's another thing. And then also, when he's putting whatever he's putting into words, the people that are hearing it don't have a clue what he's saying, so when they pass it on, it gets confused.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example from the Bible. This is not in the book, but the Bible says, Jesus says, be still and know that I am God. So what does that mean to you? Well, it means like, if you be still, you know that Jesus is God. That's not what it means. You don't have to be still to know that Jesus is God. He's just this God, whatever, enlightened being. But now imagine that you, Anita, go and you meet Jesus Christ. And you go, Jesus, let me ask you one question. What is the ultimate reality of the whole universe, myself, the universe, everything? And God goes, Anita, this is the ultimate reality. Be still and know that you are God. And you go, what? And he goes, no, this is the ultimate reality, Anita. Be still and know that you are God. So you go back to your husband, and he said, I got to meet Jesus, and he said, what did he say? He says, you're not going to believe it. This is what he said. Be still and know that I am God.
Oh, God.
So the whole time we have I am God in the Bible.
Yep. You're great. Do you actually go out then and lecture to people? I mean, you ought to be doing that. I hope you are.
I love lecturing to people, but that's it, lecturing. So I don't. I used to be. I mean, when I first learned this, a lot of stuff. I had some of the experiences. I was 28 years old, and I used to go to the bars and drink. But then I stopped drinking. I go out with my friends, and I'd be talking to people with bars about this concept. And they go, "What?"
They had too much to drink. They said, right.
So I don't now. If it comes up, I bring it up, because you want to bring it up. But this is why you want to bring it up. So imagine. I'll give you another example. So imagine you go out to dinner, this week, and you find this little hole-in-the-wall restaurant. And it is the best food you've ever had in your life 1,000 times over. And it's plenty of food. And you and all your friends say, oh, this is great. And then they bring the bill, and it's $1.99 per person. What are you going to do? You're going to tell all your friends. You're not going to believe this restaurant. You got to go. It's so fantastic.
Right.
Or if you see a great movie, you call your friends. You got to see this movie.
Right.
Well, if you're a Jesus or a Buddha or something, and you have these experiences, you go, man, you got to try this. I've just found something, and that's people want to spread the word. But the problem is people want to spread the word, and they don't know what they're talking about. So with religion, this is beyond religion. Religion is part of the relative. This is beyond religion. So everybody should think this. You should think that your religion is absolutely the best for you, not for anybody else, just for you. So if you start telling people their religion is no good, you have to have mine, that's when the problem starts. So, you can have your religion's great, but don't push it on other people, because at one level it's beyond religion. Because if you think it's religion, it's not. It's way, way, way beyond religion. Christ didn't start a religion. Buddha didn't start a religion. Krishna didn't start a religion. They were just teachers. And after they were gone, people started forming these religions based on their words. But what they're talking about are not words. It's this experience, this reality.
This is just amazing. I agree with you so much. I have just absolutely don't have words to share with you, at least on the radio, about everything that you've been saying to our listeners. And I hope our listeners are really getting it. And of course, a lot of them, I'm sure, are very religious. We have a very high Jewish population down here in South Florida. But I think that what you've just said makes sense. Here you have the Middle East with two groups of people fighting one another, killing one another. It's so outrageous, and yet it's all over religion.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So, and for the Jewish listeners and the Christian and the Muslim, all this, there's no conflict. We just tend to think that everything we believe in is separate and different. It's just because that's the way it's been written down and passed on, but it's all the same thing. So when you start getting into this stuff, this meditation stuff, and having these experiences, it's not going to drive you away from your religion. It's going to make you much more religious and much more understanding of your religions and what you believe in. But at a certain point, you're going to understand 100% that everybody's talking about the same thing. Even though intellectually it may sound, when you read something, they're saying contradictory things, at the ultimate level, they're all trying to say the same exact thing because they're all talking about the same thing.
Well, John D. Sambalino, Sambalino, wrote a book called Is God in That Bottle Cap? A Search for Truth. If you've liked this discussion today, you will love reading this book because it really will open up your eyes. It's so well written and it's so interesting. So go to Amazon.com and ask for it. Is God in That Bottle Cap? A Search for Truth. I don't think it's very expensive. What is it, about $20?
Oh, it's $16.99 in paperback, and it's $9.99 in Kindle. And you can actually get it on Amazon. Any bookstore can get it for you.
It's really good. And we do thank you so much, John. And we hope that 2020 brings a lot more to you. And as soon as you get your other book done, you have to call me.
Oh, I will for sure. Thank
you again, and hope you have a very great holiday season. And let's stay in touch, okay?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Anita, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you, too. Thank you, John.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.